We're in a BMW, but we're here to talk about Ford, the Fiesta, the Mustang, great cars. What makes an American car company American? J.F. Musial, Alex Roy, today in the Road Testament, I'm on a horse.
In a BMW. A new 5 Series, for that matter. Whatever.
Back to me, ladies.
Maruk. Nanook. Audi. Quattro.
The all-wheel drive Audi Quattro. Track one down at an Audi dealer near you.
We're sitting here in a 2011 BMW 535, which is definitely a German car.
Yes.
And it's funny because I just got out of a Ford Fiesta, which is an American car.
Well, you would think it's an American car.
But it feels like a German car.
Well, in fact, it was designed in Europe.
Well, I want this whole episode was supposed to be about, really Ford. I mean, I want to talk about Ford. We've been wanting to talk about an American car company for months.
We have, yeah.
And Ford is the obvious one to talk about. But you're getting out of the Fiesta, getting into this, and I love the Fiesta. Did you love the Fiesta?
The Fiesta is one of my favorite cars of the year.
Yeah. I like this car. I'm pretty impressed with it. But coming out of the Fiesta, I realize we really can't talk about Ford, in the context of being an American car company, because one of their best cars, the Fiesta, isn't really an American car.
That's right. Ford, Al Mulally came in and said they're creating the One Ford plan so that no longer would there be cars built for different segments of the world. There will only be one model sold for a particular segment that would be sold throughout the world. Which
is exactly how all the European companies have been doing it for decades.
That's right, yeah.
Which is the opposite of what the Japanese have been doing, because the Japanese never have the same car for the world.
That's right.
They have the Japanese market and everybody else.
You've got Nissan, Infiniti. Infiniti finally became a worldwide brand after starting off as just a U.S. luxury brand.
So define, let's talk about Ford. Is Ford an American car company?
It is by heart an American car company, but that does not mean it is purely only designed and built in America.
Okay, but the original, it was an American founder,
yes.
American concept. I mean, the Model T, everybody can have one, it's a good car.
But you want to know something that's the same throughout every car manufacturer at this point, including the Germans. You look at Volkswagen, you look at BMW, you look at Mercedes, even the Japanese. Yes, by heart they're German and Japanese, but it's an international brand at this point. They've got design studios, they've got factories around the world.
Let's define what a car company is.
Yeah.
The brand.
Yeah.
The products.
And their style guide.
Okay, the production.
Not even, because you have BMWs being built in Spartanburg as well as Russia.
Okay.
Or South Africa.
All right, so a brand does not a car company to be a German car company does not need to be built there.
I think
is that what you're saying?
You know what?
Does it have to be designed there?
Well, that's the thing, because you have designs for a lot of the Japanese and even German cars coming out of Southern California right now.
Okay.
Chris Bangle was an American designer. Volkswagen and Audi both have design shops in Santa Monica, California.
Adrian Hudink, how do you pronounce his name? The Audi guy?
Well,
he designed this car.
No, that's BMW. Yeah.
Right.
So Audi, Volkswagen. A lot of the whole LED light craze came out of Southern California. That was the Volkswagen design shop,
inspired by the aftermarket.
Probably.
Yeah.
You've got Nissan. They've got their design studios in Southern California. You now have the designer of them all, Henrik Fisker, who now has Fisker in Irvine, California. A lot of the design for all the cars on the market today actually comes out of America, as well as design shops around the world.
Define for me. Is BMW a German car?
It's a German car because they've stuck to their design and engineering philosophy as they have since day one.
Well, let's be more specific. Is BMW still a German car?
Yes.
Why?
Because they've stuck to inherently what makes a BMW a BMW. They focus on handling over power.
Rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive and a 50-50 weight distribution.
Okay.
This car, the E60, was designed in Southern California by the American Chris Bangle. Now, I will not say that that car sucked as a car. It was disgusting to look at, but inherently it was a BMW because the engineering, the philosophy of how the car should perform was maintained.
You're merely an unattractive BMW.
It was
still
unattractive, but it still was a great car to drive.
What makes Mercedes Mercedes?
Well, it used to be about the build quality and the luxury. I think they are on the edge of playing the rough ground of being still what they used to be. It's now just luxury. It's not about the build quality.
We spent a whole episode talking about Mercedes. Yeah. Are they still a German car company?
They're still a German car company because inherently they've stuck to the S-Class always has the new technology. And that technology trickles down.
Right,
and they've actually condensed Mercedes in terms of their lineup and portfolio recently. So I think they may have lost it a little bit about 5 years ago, but they've actually toned it down and actually they've regained their strength.
Well, Ferrari we don't have to talk about because we already know that they're Italian.
Yeah, well, but they're Italian, and I don't really look at Ferrari as being. I think that's one of the few examples of a non-international brand.
Yeah, that's very much a national
It's
brand.
all in-house. Fiat, on the other hand, with Chrysler, that is an international brand now.
Isn't Porsche, is Porsche still a German car company?
That's, I look at...
Because Valmet was building Boxsters.
You tell me, is Porsche German or is it international?
It's really still German.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because even though some Boxsters and things are built, by some other people, but...
well...
It's their Porsches, and they have not... They may have diluted their product portfolio, but they have not diluted the Porsche-ness of the products they're making when they expand out. I mean, Aston Martin with the Signet, that's clearly prostitution of the brand. But this is not an episode about brand. This whole episode started as a conversation about Ford and American car companies and where they stand in the world.
Well, we look at Ford. Would you consider Ford an American brand that's on the right track? Maybe it's a good thing that they're no longer all about being American. Maybe the fact that they've expanded and allowed European influence into an American brand has helped them.
Well, let's talk about this from a maybe not nationalistic standpoint, but as an American.
Yes.
Everybody wants to prosper and see their community prosper.
Yeah.
Ford is it's a public company, but it's an American brand.
Yes.
And it remains an American brand.
Yes.
So, the Fiesta is really a European car being sold here.
But being marketed as an American car.
What makes that car European is that, and what makes it a car people want here is that the things that American car buyers have sought in cars made overseas has been
you're right.
Quality and handling.
Saying that the Fiesta is marketed as an American car is wrong. Because they actually pitch it as the European car finally here in the U.S.
And why is that attractive? Because Americans did not have a small car they could buy from anyone that was well manufactured, fun to drive, and reliable. Unless they are a few Japanese models, which are copies of European models.
And at the same time, I feel Americans look at Europeans as the influence makers, in the exception of technology. And the technology is what the Americans can prosper off. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Americans look at European
cars having better technology.
No. European styling, Europeanness. Yes.
Which always includes handling. Look, let's get to the bottom line here, which is the mass of consumers want the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? And quality of build, handling, fun to drive.
Yeah.
And Europeans own that for a time. They don't own it any longer. And the ability to manufacture a car that fits those things, which were once considered European, is no longer restricted to Europeans.
Yeah.
Ford can make one, and the one world concept makes that an American idea too.
Yeah.
What do you think of GM?
I think GM, according to my sources, they still don't know what they're doing.
See,
they look at themselves as only being American. They take very little influence from their European counterparts, and they just don't get it.
You know something?
And they don't talk. They don't talk to their dealers even.
I'm gonna disagree with you because I have to disagree with you once every episode.
Okay. All right.
GM, I think, is on the path to something really good happening in the future. And that was the last thing I got to say about this topic. Buick, dead brand, right?
Yeah.
Top-selling brand in China.
I knew you were going to talk that.
Top-selling brand in China.
You know what? That's for another week. But you're right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. And I love this car, by the way. The new 5 Series is fantastic.
I love the Ford Fiesta. I would own one.
Next week?
Next week, Top Gear.
Yes.
And we're not talking about Top Gear's next episode, nor next season. We're talking about Top Gear, the show as a concept, and why we love it.
And how they produce it.
And how they produce it. Why and how Top Gear exists.
Cool.
Cool.
Cool. Cool.